Hello guys, what's up? It's Duff Designs. Today we are going to be doing a course review. This course is from one of my subscribers, Brian. He said that this was his first course and he wanted some advice on it. Just from the thumbnail, it looks pretty good for a first course. Let's go ahead and get in here and give it a try. Let's first see if he's got 4 pins. That's good. It's always good to have 4 pins. Tees, always good to have multiple tees. Courses with 1 tee, I mean, it can work, but it usually looks a little weird when you only have 1 set of tee boxes. But it's good that he's got at least 3 on here. I would recommend at least 3 tee boxes on a course if you're actually planning on doing a full realistic one. And I think I'll just leave everything else stat. Let's look at some of the course details real quick. Easy, not rated. Fairways normal, green soft, green speeds medium. Looks good. Get in there and give her a try. Now, this is the first course I'm going to be doing from my subscribers. As I said in previous videos, if you have any of your own courses that you would want me to go over, just let me know. I'm just going to be playing courses a lot now and going over people's courses and just kind of giving some pointers here and there. Sorry, John's talking in the background. Never mute John. I usually like his little funny stuff he says. Oh, yeah. By the way, I'm on PC, so my flight controls are a lot weirder than on Xbox, but go and give it a good look. So first impressions, seems like we've got a little beach down here on our southern shore, which is good because that's kind of what this map right here sets up for. It's got these big rocks in the back, and then it's got this big inlet area over here, but you actually as a designer have to make it an inlet. Which I always like this. It's one of the easier ways to make a nicer looking course, is especially by putting yourself in some nice scenery like this. Because I know there's a lot of backgrounds that are very plain, and it leaves it up to purely to the designer to make like sight lines on the course. Like if I'm down here on the course, these big old mountains, they're always going to look pretty good from down here on the course. There are some that even go even spikier than this, depending on what map type you're using. Alright, so taking a first look around, as I said, got the little ocean over there, got some nice little rocks over here. Sure, we'll take another closer look at this as we get closer. Do like the variety of rocks. Come back and talk to this a little bit more when we get down to this hole. I do really like that you do have a path coming into the course. Let me see what's actually down there. I think it's a bunch of fences wrapped around this. So if this is a walking path coming in, I could see these fences being a good thing. Making sense at least. In terms of if cars are using that, cars, I don't know if it's a good idea to have it a one-way this tight like this. Typically with roads, you kind of still want to have them flow a little bit, like the same way you've been doing your cart paths out here, how you see them flow. You want to have your entrance exit road do the same thing. I don't mind the fences. I just think maybe a little bit wider of a spline, because 2 cars kind of getting through this and getting around some of these corners might be a little bit difficult. But this is off-course stuff. This isn't the biggest deal. I do like it though. I like the clubhouse. It seems like used, I think that's 3 of the same houses slapped on, but that's usually how you end up getting nicer looking big houses, just by using the same type. I do like this bed, however, that you did right here. That's a very nice bed. In terms of everything else, not too shabby right here. Maybe a bunker. Maybe a little bit of light rough coming around here. Maybe a little bit of fairway for a chipping area would be nice, but I guess this is maybe just your putting green. I don't think we have a driving range on the course, which is okay. Not all courses have them, but it always is nice just to have a small driving range area if you have the time. In terms of your main course sculpting, it looks like we went with a big hill right here. And looks like you kind of raise the edges up over here and maybe some over here as well. So yeah, very simple. It seems like kind of like a three hill type deal. You got a big hill here, you got a big hill here, and you got another big one right there. This hill right here, one thing with this course, as I was saying, this is your main focal point, this huge ocean part over here. This is like the beauty of this course. Maybe knock this hill down. Just an idea. Or if you weren't going to knock the hill down, just having a few more holes kind of over here near this beautiful lake edge. Because I feel like if you give this lake edge some care and slap 1 or 2 holes out here, you'd have 2 really nice ocean holes out here. Whenever you're doing a map, you want to try to find your premium locations for golf holes. And I'd say a hole or 2 right over here is probably a fantastic location for a golf hole. But I think we got a little something right here as well. That looks like a little snack break area. Got a little waterfall going through the center of the course. See if I can navigate down to it. Not too bad. Doing these deep cliffs is always really dangerous because these deep cliffs like this, these big cliff edges, are always associated with newer designers, and they usually do look ugly. It's very hard to make these slopes look good. Just keep that in mind. Usually doing the same thing you did over on that hole over there where you added rocks, usually people do that to cover up these ugly looking slopes like this. But I do think this is out of the way almost completely. Alright, I think that's pretty much everything out here in the open to talk about. I don't really think there's much else. There seems to be another little area over here. And it seems like you did go with black mulch. Very bold decision, I'll say. Not very many people do use the black mulch. It can look good, but it is very hard to make it look good. Alright, let's get down there to some of the golf. Alright. Hole number 1 here. Alright. So off the bat, we got our little yardage markers in the fairways. Not bad. This little tad bit right here could use just a little bit of smoothing. But overall, I like the idea of this hole. At least once you get down past this little bump down here. I like this big catch area, how it feeds everything kind of down here into the open. It seems it's a easier opening hole. I would work with your slopes up here maybe a little more. We'll see later on the course, but right now this seems a little bit too jagged, a little bit too steep. If we look down here in the bottom, we got about 8-9 feet. That's right at about a 7-foot drop. That's pretty sharp. Let's see if it actually intervenes with these sight lines at all. No, your sight lines look good from up here. You can see all the bunkers on the hole. One more little quick thing. Since you're an early designer, you don't know this yet, but don't use the stock shapes. One big thing stock shapes scream to anybody who plays this game is it's a new designer. They don't know how to use splines yet, or they just don't use splines. Because there are only so many stock shapes, and the stock shapes become very quick to pick out. So I would recommend using your splines to make bunkers as much as you can. It also adds a lot of character into your course instead of just using the shapes that it gives you. Because it looks like you did spline your rough and your fairways, which is very nice. Just do the same thing with your bunkers, and you can create some really interesting bunkers. Because everybody in the game knows these are stock shapes now. Because it's been like this since the golf club, like 7 years ago. It's been the same stock shapes for so long. I do like the hole though. Short opening par 4. Got a little lake over here. Very nice. Even added, looks like some dragonflies. Nice little touch. I do like this little lake here. Maybe add a couple bushes kind of on top, but otherwise that's good planting with those rocks and everything on the bottom. In terms of our green, Seems like we're going with some smaller greens out here. Got 3 pinnable locations. With these smaller greens, you usually can't get more than 3 pins, sometimes even just 2. This would be quite the difficult pin, but it does look like you could pin this over here. A general idea of for pin locations is you want what they call a 9 square. You want 9 squares with no yellow. So you got your center square right here, and then you got your 8 squares that surround it. Which you did a good job right here. I'm just worried that one right there might be a little bit too close. But otherwise, I like the green idea. Nice little uphill shot too. Doesn't even really seem uphill. It's kind of a trick on the mind. Nice little shot. Might catch that slope to the left.
Yep, that's going to do just nicely. And here's an 18-footer.
And let's see if we can swoop one on in there.
Looking really good.
Not bad.
Here we go. Par putt. Let's do it.
Not a bad first hole.
Even par is your score. And we have a par.
Second hole here. I like the little swan. Yeah, this is some this isn't perfect planting, but I do like it. I do think one thing I was going to talk about with that rock cliff. I was going to wait till I got down to it, but I do think you're using a few too many types of rocks. Typically with rocks, you want to choose anywhere from 2 to 5 types of rocks. Once you start to get up into the like 10s or more rock types, it gets just a little bit too chaotic. But I do like the plants that you put in between everything. Makes it all tie in together real nice. If I were you, I would have continued this rock wall all the way up into here. Yeah, this is that waterfall gully I was talking about earlier. Yeah, I think if you would have rocked all this up, this would look very nice right here. Which I'm sure by using this many types of rocks too, you're going to use up your object meter very, very fast by individually placing a lot of rocks like that, especially a lot of different types of rocks. In terms of the hole, I'm not going to say anything else about it, but we all know these are not spline bunkers. At least I'm almost 100% positive they're not spline bunkers. It looks like you combined a couple here, a couple different shapes. The green, very interesting little green here. Not much in the terms of movement. I would work on your tiers a little bit. Right here, you could do a great tiered green. Like you got this whole. I mean, you could use this as a false front, but I would use this little inlet more as a pinnable location up here. Maybe make a little smaller tier up here, and you could probably make yourself a larger second tier all the way up here just by flattening this large section out. You could have a nice little 3-tiered greens. That would make this a little bit more strategic because right now it's kind of just hit it into the center of the green. Simple little no thinker. Which that's something I try to avoid a lot. I try to avoid no thinker shots on my courses, ones where players can just step up and smash the ball. You want to give your players a little bit of something to think about when they're hitting their shots. Whether that's a couple slopes in the green, a challenging bunker, a double fairway, maybe a big lake. But yeah, let's take a quick little look at the scorecard actually. Very curious. So our scorecard, let's look at the distances. We got a 35-35. Nothing wrong with that. We got 1 par 5 to finish, and we got 2 par 5s in this one, so we must have 3 par 3s on the front 9. Very interesting. Nothing wrong with that. I know some people want to keep it like as close to 72 as possible, but I don't care. You can have a course as low as a 68 par, and it can still play just as fun as one that's a 72 or 74. All right. Coming on to this hole. I like the idea here. What I would have recommended is maybe make this bunker a little smaller and give your player some way to work this ball into these gaps, because might be able to just barely smidgen it up here, but I feel like a little bit clearer of a secondary path. Whether that's widening this a little bit and maybe slapping another bunker right here, it's up to you, but I do like the idea. Bunkers in the middle of the fairway always make a challenging hole, especially right here because I'm going to land pretty much right in the middle of it. And for our players that are possibly going to drive over it, which there are going to be some, that's going to be a tough one to hold the fairway on. I'll have to say.
Oh, wonderfully struck.
Decent power shot. See how close we get. And right in it. Is a well-placed bunker.
Oh, this is very, very sandy in this.
In terms of this, one thing I can tell you're doing with these is you have a spline point right here, and you have a spline point right here, and then you have a spline point down here. You want a couple more spline points in here just to make that curve a little smoother, unless you're going for a sharp edge type of fairway. But you've got like a smooth edge here, a sharp edge here, a sharp edge here, sharp edge here, smooth edges back here. You just kind of want to keep this smooth edges if you're going to go with it, because these little random sharp ones just kind of look a little bit out of place, which this doesn't take much at all to fix. All it is kind of smoothing out these corners right here. All you'll need to do is, instead of placing one spline, one spline, one spline, you just want to kind of rapid click and go spline, 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 all the way down. You can make a lot smoother edges that way. Sorry if I'm talking a little too much. I'm just shooting out some ideas. I do like the course, though. It's great for a first course. You see a lot of first courses in a lot worse condition than this.
That's a great escape.
Even if it wasn't exactly your first course, even if it was in like your top or your first 10 courses, this is still a very nice early course. I do think some work with your greens in terms of making tiers and proper pinnable locations, because right now, especially with these smaller greens, you've only got this pin location and this pin location, and I know you had 4 on the map, which it's okay to have 2 pin locations in one exact spot, but if you're going to have greens this big and only have a small pin here and a small pin here, the whole rest of the green is just movement. Bro, I do like the hole, though. I do like that you did your light rough spline separately. A lot of players won't do a light rough spline, and they'll just do a secondary surface on the fairway. I think it looks a lot nicer when you put the time and effort in to actually come in and put a rough spline through here. So kudos on that, because I know that takes a little bit extra time.
And with that, we will move on to the next.
Even so far.
Here on the 4th hole.
Now, let's see. Let's look at the map. So I was curious about the tees to kind of see where they are. Not bad for tees. One thing I would recommend, if you're gonna put a short layup zone like back here, which I mean obviously no player from the tee box is really gonna hit here unless it's on accident. You do kind of want these bigger than your landing zones down here, just because in terms of golf strategy, you know, if you're gonna lay up, you're typically laying up to a safer area, whereas right here it's pretty dangerous to lay up anywhere short. Obviously, usually wouldn't, but it's just kind of a continuity thing on golf courses. So just widening this might be a little nice. I do like the hole. Dogleg left over the trees. Looks like you can rip it over the trees. Might as well try for it. Very dangerous hole. I like it. Crushed it. Might be a little left in the trees.
That shot got a little bushy. Oops.
Not too bad, though.
That's no good. We are in the deep stuff here.
Now, it looks like you planted all this. I don't know, something about this green just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look well put together. I mean, I know what you're going for here, a kind of a peninsula type green. But I think maybe raising this up a little bit, maybe defining this edge over here a little bit better around your green, because right now it just kind of looks very jagged all the way around. Uh, I would add a bunker, but you don't really have to. I don't know. I think you could make something really great here if you played with your green a little bit more. Overall, I like the hole ideas. You've got some great hole ideas out here.
He'd go down to 1 under if this goes in. Right by.
And smack her in there.
Let's see what we can do here.
Short little par 3. I like this one. This peninsula right here, this is kind of more what I was talking about. This looks a lot better than the last hole. If you had something like this on the last hole, it would make that last hole look a lot better. It would make it pop. In terms of everything else, I do like it. The one thing I would have done is you've got light rough encompassing every other hole. I don't know if you may have been limited by water proximity, but I would have ran the light rough all the way around here as well. Whether that's just selecting light rough as a second surface for the green. Very simple green again. I'd say the one thing that really needs the most work on this course so far is the greens. I like them, but they're just missing something in the green. They're missing some movement, some tiers, a little bit of character in the greens. The greens just kind of seem flat, and it doesn't seem like you did a lot to the greens once you placed them down.
Ooh, nice little chip on that one. And you're at even par.
Ooh, a little riser. I like that. It's always nice to have a switch up in your course. Yeah, these are the rocks that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, and see, this is what I was talking about with the secondary surface. I really like that you were doing this. I don't know why switch back right now. I would just kind of keep that same light rough going all around the entire course. Because there may be a couple other holes like this, but it's kind of weird to have it switch up like that. I do like the riser shot, though. It's always nice to have a couple really far uphill shots on your course, whether that's tee shots or green approaches.
I'll take that. Okay.
Bunker.
60 or so to the pin.
I see what you're going for. I think if all these rock clusters looked like this one, it would have looked a little bit nicer. Probably knock out some of this grass. I don't know if this is just naturally generated or you placed this, but I wouldn't have this grass here. And a lot of times for these light rough lines, what I recommend doing is just bringing them up to the cart path and running them down the cart path. It usually looks a lot cleaner because you can hide this little edge line up against the cart path. You could have done it all the way down. It's just a little thing. It looks a lot nicer than having this little 5-yard gap, 10-yard gap, 15-yard gap all the way through. Now this green is a little bit more of what I was looking for, what I was hoping for. This is a 2-tiered green. Got this nice little split right here at the neck, bringing us down to the lower tier. Got a nice little runoff on the edge. I do like this little catch area back here. I think if you would have ran this catch area just a little further around. But I think this is a lot nicer of a green right here. I like this green a lot more. Yeah, that's a pretty good green right there. Not much is needed else on that. As I was saying earlier with the rock walls, I think you may have just used a couple too many types of rocks on the rock wall.
And here we have a.
But otherwise, it is a very good rock wall. I know how much work it takes to build those things, especially when you're selecting different rocks like that. In terms of this pin location, maybe a little too close to the slope. But not bad.
Oh,
Looking at that 9 square.
amazing.
Yeah, I think that's fine. It is a little close to where it starts to turn yellow, but I think you're fine with this one.
And as that putt drops, let's take a peek at the scorecard. And that'll keep you right there at even par.
Yeah, 9 square was actually a term that I had just learned about the other day watching another YouTuber called In This Style. He does course reviews as well. And talking about the 9 square is something that I've never heard about, but it makes a lot of sense. Screen right here. All right. I like it, but at the same time, having 2 drop downs like this in this new game, it's just something you shouldn't do. You should never have a slope that feeds down to another slope, especially if it's a red going to a red or a yellow going to a yellow. It just makes any shot from this side impossible in this new game because of how fast the greens are and how much the balls roll out. If I were to be anywhere short-sighted on this hole, it's impossible. Which it can be a strategic thing, but in this situation, I would have just made this whole front part of the green 1 tier, and maybe had a 2nd tier here. Maybe how you've got this back area right here is pretty nice. This little knoll right here, I see this little raise that you did. Uh, it's not really my favorite because it's going to punish shots that are coming into this back pin. It's going to, like, if you could have a dead straight shot coming into this back pin, and it depends if it hits a foot over on this side or a foot over on this side, which way it's going to bounce. And it seems like it'll bounce off the green, too, with these contours. I like the bunker in the front. I like that you can see it from the tee box. I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to see it. I would maybe knock down this little hill right here. You see how you got this big raise? Maybe knock that down a little bit. Maybe knock all this down right here just a little bit, just so you can see the bunker a little bit clearer. I do really like this little low raise you got running all the way around here. It's not tall enough to get in the player's way in terms of sight line or shots. Another downhill shot. Planting is nice. In terms of stuff like this, maybe put it in just a tiny bit of a depression so it kind of feels more like a waste area. Or maybe just add a couple more bushes in there to make it seem thicker. I do like the whole idea. I really like the back of the green, this whole fall off back here. Oh, it falls off all over. It's almost like a turtle shell back here. Alright, let's hit our shot. A little strong, but missing long on this pin's the best option.
Well played. This putt is a
Pretty straight putt. Just give her a smack.
Oh my. Here we go. Par putt.
Not bad.
And as that one drops in the hole.
Dead even through 7. I don't think we've had a bogey or a birdie.
Par 4 ahead of us.
Ooh. This is one of a big mistake a lot of newer designers will make. You want to avoid rocks near your greens, especially this close to your greens, as much as possible. Also, I don't really think that's the best location for some rocks. I might understand some rocks up here on like this little slope over here, but in terms of this, they're just blocking the player's shot, which if that's what you were going for, there's better ways to do it than rocks in this game, because as I said, rocks aren't the best because they're going to add a lot of variety and bounce into your course. It's just a whole bunch of RNG when you add rocks in. It's just not something that you want to have immediately in the player's way. I do like this hole. I think if you added maybe a tiny little run up a fairway that players could possibly sneak a good drive up and onto here would be very nice. It seems like in this one you can just hit it on the green though, off the tee. I do like the drivable par 4 aspect. Uh, one thing, if you're gonna make fairways this long, I know it's a pain, but you gotta make sure you contour the whole fairways, because a little jagged edge like that, just a little too much. But overall, I really am enjoying the variety of holes out here so far. Seems like we've had a little bit of everything. Sorry about that. Had a phone call. Just gonna smash this one on down there. A little pull. Now here again, I didn't see this off the tee. The same thing with the light rough. You've had light rough encompassing pretty far outside, and now we've got another secondary surface right here that you've done. It's just a little out of place. So I think this hole would do nicely with some light rough kind of coming all the way up here, wrapping all the way down and around, maybe down to here. Maybe even up to your cart path to allow some shorter grass for players to walk on up to the green. In terms of this green, I do like this green. This is one of your better greens, I'd have to say. Maybe just making this a little bit bigger right here. Maybe instead of having this cut in, you just have it kind of come out flush with everything, just to have a little bit more pinnable area. But I do like this green. Oh, what a shot. No birdies, no bogeys, only an eagle. Incredible.
And after that hole, you'll go down to 2 under.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
And the 9th hole is ready for us. Hopefully you're ready for it.
Ooh, I like this. Bringing the trees into play. We've had, I think, one hole with trees into play so far. Even though the trees aren't really coming into your shot line at all, having this visual block is very nice. One thing I would have done is, from this tee box, I can't see anything. All I can see is that bunker. I know we're in a game and you can just hit your space bar to come up here, but you want to work on your sight lines. So this little hill right here in front of us, if you just knocked this down to allow the player to see the fairway, it would open this hole up and make it look a lot nicer. Because I think this would look beautiful if you had this whole viewable fairway with this bunker capping it off at the end, and then this big mound and tree blocking your more aggressive shot. It's a nice whole idea. I just definitely would knock down this little hill right here. Again, I might mention the bunkers again, but they're kind of weird shaped. It does seem like you are going for this kind of crazy style of bunker. But I think a little bit better bunker placements. Like this one right here isn't bad. I would maybe add a second one right here just to kind of encompass this whole area. It would make it look very nice instead of just having this big open area of light rough right here. Right where a strategic bunker would be perfect. In terms of this one up here, I don't think this bunker is ever going to come into play visually. Can't really see it off the tee. We'll see how it looks on the second shot. All your bunkers you kind of want to have with purpose, unless you're just adding a bunch of bunkers. Because purposeful bunkers, it just adds a little bit more strategicness behind it. Ooh, I think you did exactly what I was talking about earlier right here. Yeah, you see how the light rough runs all the way up to your cart path? You see how seamless that looks? It looks really nice when it's done all the way down the hole. Got a little come out right there. But yeah, when you bring it up all the way to the cart path, it looks a lot nicer than just leaving a 5-10 yard gap of heavy rough. Planting. This is why I don't like the black mulch. It can just seem very, very out of place on a course. Usually just going with the red mulch is better. I do like that we've got a reachable par 5 here. I don't think the other one, I think the other one was 630 yards, so it was pretty far. It's always nice to have variety in your par 5s. I like this green. I like the idea of this green a lot. How it all runs away from you down towards the lake, so you got to be careful. You got to land it short, run it up. It seems like we got a pin here, pin here, pin here. I would maybe flatten this area out over here. You could have a very challenging pin over here in this corner, kind of tucked away. But other than that, I think the screen's very nice. Maybe a little bit too much red zone in the back. But other than that, I like the screen idea. See if we can roll one on up there. Maybe a little too short.
We're in the green side rough currently. Let's
get us one on the green.
Chip. Coming through with the chip.
And our first birdie of the day.
Dropping it in for birdie.
But keep in mind, I'm not the best player in this game. I'm just here to design and do the courses. I know only reason I know to play the game is so I can actually test the courses. Alright, coming on down to the back 9. I love that you got the cart paths. If you're going to go in the future, keep cart paths. Cart paths are something a lot of designers don't do, and it'll just make you stand out by actually having them. I know they take some time and take some effort, but a properly done cart path, kind of like this one, looks very nice. I like this cart path. The one thing I would have done is, I remember how I was mentioning earlier, keeping even distances between here. This is where that really comes into play with fairway. You can make some really nice lines. Like, if I come all the way up here, you kind of see how all this is tight running. If you kept this same width right here, or right here, all the way down, it would make this fairway look beautiful. It would make it look great. It would make it look very flush with the cart path right here. Other than that, I do really like the fairway. Very open. Got the bunker at the end. That's not really reachable. Maybe tuck your bunkers in a little closer to the fairway. We've seen a couple bunkers that are very far off of the fairway. That would take quite the miss to get to. I do like the big slope here. The one thing I don't like, though, is that you see how you got a lot of movement. It comes all the way up here, and then it just flattens out right here. This is just a big flat area. I would try to continue this hill all the way up. Like, I would raise this area right here maybe another 3 feet just to give a little bit of movement in this so it's not dead flat. And maybe widen this fairway a little bit more just so people have an extra little option up here instead of just being a miss zone. But I do like the hole a lot. I like this tee shot. Gonna put us right down in the rough. Very challenging second shot as well. Seems like it would have taken quite the shot to get up here. I always like these bunkers. It is the first time we've seen them, but I always like these bunkers. It seems like, I can't tell, it looks like these were splines. Doesn't look like, it looks like these are custom shapes. Because I think when you use the brush in the fairway, it gives you an inch of like rough all the way around. So I think those are all splines. In terms of this green, this is a good green. Not perfect, but it's a good green. I like how you got this little separated tier right here by this knoll. Got a big flat area, got another tier up here that kind of runs back and in. Overall, I like this green. Get a little bit of work with this slope right here, but otherwise I really like this green. Now let's just see if we can actually get it anywhere up there. Gonna have to do a punch, it seems. Not the straightest shot I've ever hit.
Well, missed the green there on that one.
Right up under the little tree.
Okay, third shot.
Pin location. got a lot of good pin locations here. And to have your pin tucked right here on this yellow slope's a little awkward, especially when it's a down slope feeding balls away from the players. I would have just done one here, maybe two back in this big open area and one here. You don't have to tuck your pins in really close to hard spots. Especially this one. I think this is,
6 feet to go here.
I don't want to sound mean, but this is probably the worst pin on the course. It's just there's really no good way, especially on a long par 4 like this, to get that ball to stop on a downhill like that, especially coming uphill like that. This is a very long hole.
And now teeing off on a par 4.
It's always fine to have some difficulty, just in the right places. Looks like we got another drivable par 4 here. Another 2-pin. I'll talk about that when I get there. Fairway, a little bit too thin right here. As we were talking earlier, you want your layup zones to be thick, like big layup zones. Because if the player's going to lay up, they're laying up to take the easier shot. So having a really thin fairway like this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to lay up when I could hit a driver and go to just as thin of a fairway, if not have an easier shot, just by taking the longer club. You always want the easier shot to be the shorter shot or the harder shot into the green.
Nice swing onto that one.
Good little shot. I do like the big bunkers on this course. I just feel like if you would have used splines, they would have came out a lot better. I'm 99% sure those are splines. Or aren't splines, I mean. Now this is what I was talking about with the 9 grid earlier. Having your pins a little too close to slopes. Like that last hole was definitely not legal in terms of slopes. This one right here is almost definitely not. Because once you get to right here, not even a full square, you're already hitting yellow coming down this huge hill. In terms of the green, not too bad. If you're going to have a come down area like this, I wouldn't just flatten it off right here in this little tiny spot. I would have this carry you all the way off the green. Because just having this tiny little flat zone down here really doesn't make much sense. But you did have a pretty decent green here.
Chip there.
Just think this pin's a little too much.
No good. And you're 2 under par for the round. Okay.
Ooh, I like this tee shot off the bat.
4.
Visually appealing. These 2 trees here. I feel like it's fine to have a tree here, maybe just one. That's a small nitpick, but maybe just one tree there. Do like the lake. Very jagged edges on the lake. These usually aren't preferred jagged edges. You kind of want to try to make them smooth. But it kind of seems like it's kind of the style wrapping through here is these really jagged edges. I do really like the split fairway though. I think visually this is your best hole in the course. This is probably your picture hole, as you would say. Fairway again, or cart path again. I have had very few complaints about the cart path out here. I really do like it. I'm curious. You know, it's going for a lot, but see if we can actually make it.
Well,
You're not gonna make it like that. I might actually be on the other side. You messed up so bad that it's okay. Yeah, we'll just take it up with the trees. I do really like this hole. One little random log I don't know how I feel about, since you've had pretty much a clean creek so far. I do like the bridges though. Bridges are nice. Seems like you know how to do your advanced edits.
okay,
Dang, right into a tree.
That shot, but,
Making a mess of this one. Let's get after the fairway.
nicely done, back in the fairway. I
Oh,
like
this
it.
is a par 4?
Let's just drop
Hold
the
up.
pin next shot. Okay, setting up
Hold
here
the
about
phone.
40 to the pin.
Ooh, I feel like this was not meant to be a par 4. Holy crap. 560 yards? This is a beautiful par 5. I don't think this is meant to be a par 4. You can let me know in the comments, Brian, but I don't know, I just don't feel like this is meant to be a par 4 with how long this is and how it's set up. I feel like this is a great layup area for your second shot on a par 5. I could be wrong though. Could have meant for it to be a par 4. Also, if you're ever going to add these, I know you can't really see it that much, but it's always nice to either add a low falls or a falls here, and maybe a rock or two on each side. Just a little thing. But I really like this hole. It's a shame that it's a par 4 right now. In terms of this green, I like the green idea. I would have made this knoll just a little bit smaller. One thing you got to be careful with these is making the tops of them flat, because if you make the tops of them flat, balls are going to sit up here. And that's really not the purpose of a knoll. The purpose of a knoll is to shoot shots off of it, not to catch shots on top of it. Which, if you're coming for the knoll and you end up on top of it, it feels like you got cheated, almost. But otherwise, if this knoll is a little smaller, this is a great green right here. Maybe make this a little bit bigger, but I do like it. Pretty good shot, too.
And that'll do. Grab your putter.
Or a bogey.
Here is the bogey putt.
And a double.
All right, that one's down. Now let's take a look at the scorecard. 13th hole coming up.
Again, I like the planting. Odd spot for some planting, having it right here. Can't say much about it though. It's not bad. It's just, in my personal opinion, I would have put it behind the green. I like this. I like what you've done with this creek, how you've really brought it into play on these next, looks like 3 holes right here. This green right here, I like this green. I like this whole left side. This left side is beautiful right here. I would have made this top tier a little bit bigger. You don't have to make it too much bigger, but maybe just a little bit. And I would have flattened this out over here and maybe made this area right here a little bigger as well, just to add another pinnable location. The general rule of thumb is you want to have at least 3 pinnable locations on a hole, which, I mean, you could put a pin here, a pin here, and a pin here. But it would be nice to have a pin all the way up here on this front part, blocked by this tree, really close to this water. And you could keep part of this slope, how you got it right here. You could do the same thing over here. I do really like this hole, though. Long one, too. Oh, that's going to be in the water.
Oh,
Knew it.
to the water.
And good. Good drop zones.
Okay, here's our third shot.
It's just not dropping us in some bushes or something. Ooh, what a shot.
Here we go. Setting up in the green side rough. Nice.
And knock her into the hole.
All right, you're sitting at 2 over. And here we go.
Alright, I was looking at this one from the last hole. I like the idea. I see that you wanted to make these trees come into play on your second shot. But what I would have done here is maybe just knock out these 2. Just give your players a larger area, because this is a tiny little gap to go through. This is a tiny little gap to go through. That one's a very tiny gap to go through. You want to give your players a little bit more of an area to aim for, because right now I'm aiming for this tiny little spot right here to get a clean second shot in. And with how many trees are over on this side, why even go over here when I could just come over here? That's so much easier. Same thing with, you kind of want your layups to be the easier shot. Like coming in right here, this is just going to be a hard second shot, so there's just no point for me even laying up. Perfect. I do like the idea for the hole. It's a great idea to have the trees right there.
All right, here's our
Just I think opening it up a little bit would be very nice. I like this bunker back here. I think this is a splined bunker. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a spline bunker. I really like that bunker. How it's coming in flush with the green and it butterflies out on each side like that. Very nice. Green here is also pretty good. Yeah, there's really nothing I can complain about on this green. Very tough pin over here, but you've got enough area, enough green spot up here, green space. Yeah, I mean, I could nitpick stuff, but that's just nitpicking.
It didn't feel as clean
I
as I
like
know you
the,
can
I like
hit.
the hole.
A little wayward on the approach. That's all right though. And
Yeah, I
another
guess one thing some
great
people would talk
sized
about,
bunker.
when I miss this, I'll talk about it. But
Nicely played
you
up
see how
there,
that
Paul.
bunker is like it's higher than the green right here?
8-foot putt.
Just flattening it just a little bit right here, just to bring it a little bit lower would be nice. It's a realism thing because if you have the bunker above
Good stroke.
the bunker edge, all that sand when it rains is just gonna bleed out, and
Sitting at
that would be a
9.
terrible spot for that because all that sand would come right onto the green. Like bunkers are also extremely hard to work with their depths. They're very weird with how they work. So it takes a lot of time to get your bunker depths right. Nothing really wrong here, just maybe bring that knoll down, but I know bunkers are so hard. Also, I would have maybe brought this back edge up just to make it a little bit more visible. Again, not a bad fairway. I like the rocks right here. They are right in the landing zone, which is a little dangerous, but I do like the look of them. I really like the look of this area right here. If you would have done more of these on the course, this is a beautiful area. I know it probably used a lot of your object counter, but I really do like all that down there. That looks nice.
Second shot here on the 15th.
In terms of your bunkering here, I think some of these look like splines. Might all be splines. I do like this hole. I don't know, something about that feels a little bit off. A lot of bunkering here. Green. Not really much I can complain about on the green. It is a little large compared to all the other greens. Like, this is probably 2 times larger than all the other greens we've came across. But that's not particularly a bad thing. I know some people get real anal about having all their greens very close to the same size, but I think variety is an amazing thing to have on a golf course. People will talk about having all your bunkers look exactly the same. Like if you're gonna have fingers in the bunkers, you'd have fingers in all of them, or if you're not gonna use fingers, you don't need to use them all. But I think having very nice variety in your bunkers is a good thing. Sorry, I'm still getting calls. Let me just. All right, let me see what we got here. I like this hole. I would have maybe lowered this fairway just a touch so you could see the green slash bunker up here. Otherwise, I do like the hole.
Good job.
So it's a simple
This
one.
one's about 100 yards
Green, a little bit too much going on. Maybe make the green slope a little bit less severe. As I was saying earlier, having a downslope next to another downslope like that. And this is a little too flat. You always want to have a little bit of movement in your greens. This is just when you use the flatten tool too much on one spot. All you got to do is use the raise tool, make a big, huge object, and raise maybe a foot or so, and this will add just a little bit of break into the green. Because it seems like we got the same thing up here where it's just a little too flat. And then we've got this huge slope in the middle. And I'd imagine you put a pin there. I wouldn't put a pin there, but the way that this is done and the way that I've seen a lot of newer designers, they will put pins in spots like this. In the older games, you could have got away with that, but nowadays you really can't with how fast the new greens are. Also, a smaller thing is the, this big green slope right here, or this big bunker slope, I mean. I wouldn't have something like this. It's just a little too severe. Uh, when you get bunker slopes over about 45 degrees or close to 45, they just look a little odd. Especially since we haven't had any like that yet on the course, any really big bunkers. Alright, let's slap a shot up there.
This putt's left to save par.
Yeah, you see what I mean? That was a dead
All right,
100% flat putt right there. I just didn't aim at the center.
two over par at the moment. Here we go on the 17th hole.
That is really nice. Now, I had complained about rock variety earlier, but this, with how much you've got going on here, it looks more like a cobblestone wall. I really like that. That probably took a lot of time. Yeah, that's your nicest rock work on this course. I would keep that little trick right there in your pocket for years to come. You could definitely do some nice things with this. I probably used quite a lot on your object counter, however. But I do really like that. That is nice. That's a very, very cool wall. In terms of your green, seems like we got a simple two-tiered. We got a top tier running all the way across and a bottom tier down here. Not bad. I mean, there isn't much you could really do unless you made the green a little bigger, which this green's already huge. Not a bad green, but not great. I just feel like this is a little too thin all up top up here. You can kind of tell, like, this pin's a little too close to this slope, but he can't really move it back too much more, or it'll be too close to the back here. Just this top tier being a little bit bigger. It's really all that this hole needs. Very long par 3. We've had a lot of very long par 3s, I feel. I may be wrong with that.
Nicely done.
I feel like we've had a lot of long ones.
It could be a good one.
Ooh, good putt.
That shows some resilience. Birdied this one after a bogey on the last. Well done.
And on our last hole, double fairway type hole. I like this. I feel like there might be a bit too much going on down here in terms of trees and stuff. Let's see how it kind of looks like that. I like it. I like the idea a lot. I just feel like there's something a little bit off about this fairway. Maybe needs a little bit more character in it, a little bit more movement. And I also don't like the big fall off down here in the front. You see how that whole front spart just kind of falls down into there? I feel like if you can hit a fairway this tiny, you should just let your players be rewarded. Because this is a very hard shot right here. And in terms of our second area, yeah, that's going to be a decent shot, and then going to be contending with those bunkers. Obviously, we got to go for the little cut right here. Perfect. Probably should have put a little bit of draw on that, but that's okay.
Setting up here just in the
And again, I do like all this planting you did here. I wish you would have done more planting like this on the course. But I have a feeling that you maxed out your object meter with how much stuff you've placed. I may be wrong about that, but I just have a feeling. In terms of your finishing green, there's not really much here. You got one big pinnable area down here. I wouldn't even really consider this pinnable over here. So you would have to slap 4 pins right down here in the middle. And I feel like maybe adding this area over here, maybe making this a little larger and adding a pin up here. I don't mind how you got this big bowl. I just feel like this green needs another pin location. And I think this is the same issue we were coming to earlier where this pin's a little too close to a yellow. But we'll see when we get up there.
This might find
Smacked
some
it.
trouble.
Coming on down.
Well, scratch that. You ended up on the green.
And let's see what we can do here.
Oh, what could have
Dang,
been?
that would have been our... Oh, actually, no, this is our even.
And
Even
the
par.
first drops and your round's done. All right, and at the end of
Not
this
too
one,
bad. I like the course. The two main things I would recommend working on are your greens and your bunkers. I think adding proper tiers in your bunkers, or in your greens, I mean, and just proper pinnable locations on your greens. Your greens would be very nice. Your bunkers, I don't know. I feel like a little bit smaller bunkers, kind of more in strategic locations, closer to the fairway, a little bit of areas where players are going to hit the ball. So I feel like you did have some nice ideas for some bunkers. They were just a little bit too off looking. They just had too many curves in them. They were just a little too big. Maybe the slopes inside the bunkers didn't match up. But bunkers are one of the hardest things to get used to in this game. But other than that, I really did like the course for being a newer designer, as you said. It is a great course. I think you've got a lot of potential here. Uh, Other than that, as I've been saying before, guys, if you have any courses you want me to go over, let me know in the comments section. I'll see you guys next time.